advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Courier Post on January 16, 2018, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Ms. Pareo?
Here.
Mr. Burrell?
Here.
Mrs. Colodi?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Catrambone?
Here. So first we have a couple of items on an action agenda, and that would first be Resolution 2018-190. And this is a resolution authorizing the township to enter into a memorandum of understanding with PSE&G regarding their resurfacing of certain township right-of-ways. We discussed this. I have a motion.
And I'll second.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Catrambone?
Aye. Next, we have the waiver of a return check fee. This was in the agenda. It seems pretty cut and dry. A motion to approve. Resolution 2018-191.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Catrambone?
Aye. And finally, we have a final resolution. It's 2018-192, and this is authorizing executive session to discuss, not necessarily in this order, litigation, Delran Township, Mount Laurel compliance, declaratory, judgment action, and contract negotiations with the emergency squad situation. The motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Catrambone?
Aye. So on our work session agenda, we have a number of items, first of which being the bid review for the Freightliner dump trucks. Didn't get a tremendous response. Jeff, I want to have you talk about that.
We received one bid from Robert Hoover and Sons Incorporated for $259,964. It was within the budgeted amount that we anticipated. So we do recommend awarding the bid, and Jerry also recommends awarding the base bid with option 1, which was a 5-year engine, transmission, and towing extended warranty.
Jeff, you don't see any reason to want to put it out for bids?
The numbers were good.
Okay.
Even though there was only one bid that came in, the number we anticipated.
Any other questions? All right, so we can just put this on the public meeting? Okay. One down. And then we have the request for a waiver of a late fee for the 2018 food handler license for Five Below. Sounds like it was pretty much, we didn't bill them.
Right.
And I didn't even know they handled food. What?
Well, they handled packaged.
Oh, okay.
So for some reason, they were just missed on our list, and they never received notice, and they actually called us, wondering where their renewal was. So we don't want to charge them, but the only way to not charge them is to do a resolution to it.
Okay.
So we'll put that on the next meeting. Everyone's okay.
Anybody have any questions?
That's fine.
Simple.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Again, pretty simple, but this is to redo the contract for animal control. Jeff, anything different?
No, actually the prices quoted are the exact same as last year, and it's about half what we were paying 2 years ago. We don't have anybody that's competitive. There's really not that many companies out there, so we recommend approval of it. There's 0 changes between this year's contract and the last year's.
And last year worked out very well.
Last year was half the cost of the previous year. So.
Great. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And now, everybody's favorite topic. Let me rephrase that. Now, Jeff's favorite topic is an update on the CHIP.
Actually, I'm not going to spend too much time on the update because you all received it in your boxes, and quite honestly, there's not been any changes since our last update, to be quite frank with you. But I did want to point out that the elected officials liability seminar sheet is out, so it has the dates in terms of saving the date for. There are 4 options at the Burlington, or the GIFs. We do it with 2 other GIFs, but there are 4 options for the joint insurance fund, training starting in December and all the way going through March for elected officials. For each one of you who attend, we get $250 off our premium. You've been very good in all of the past years in terms of going and giving us a break on our premium. And so in addition to that, the League of Municipalities Conference every year also holds a session that would provide for a credit for anyone who is attending. It's $345 on Wednesday, November 14th. I don't have the classroom number yet, but usually it's one of the bigger rooms on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. As soon as I have it, I'll give it to you. But again, it saves us $250. Just the only new item to discuss is that we are nearly complete with the joint insurance budget for 2019. Just had a meeting here last week with the Finance Committee, and if there's an increase, it'll be very small. There'll be zero increase to Delran residents because we have that aggregated excess liability fund where we have some funds in there. So even if there's a small increase, we'll have a small increase again for about 2/5 or 6th. That's all I have on that.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Jeff? Okay. So next is another no-brainer. The fire department has requested the use of our lots to accommodate their trucks for the funeral for Craig Pennell. And I don't know if there's any questions with that. It was pretty easy tragedy in town, and whatever we can do to help them. Okay, so next month, for those folks who weren't aware, there's an election in town, and that is the date of our normally scheduled public meeting, and we need to reschedule that for another date, as we're going to lose a date because of the league. So we can't lose 2 of the 3 meetings for the month. Suggestion that I have is just do it the next day, and that'll be on Wednesday the 7th. Do you have any problems with that question? Okay, no? All right, so we'll do that. Do you have to do some sort of, you'll take care of all the notifications. Moving right along, next we have the homecoming breakfast request. This is, as you all know, last year the parents did a breakfast for all the kids that are staging on Right Way for the homecoming parade, and it seemed to go well. Jeff, if you have any additional information, that'd be great, but it seemed to go pretty well last year.
Yeah, last year they took care of cleaning up afterwards. There were no issues. They just requested the same thing again. I did get the written request as an email in today's email, so I did receive it, and they did indicate the person who will be taking responsibility for cleaning up the properties. Like I said, we didn't have an issue last year.
So in order to, unless somebody has a question, in order to give them permission, do we need to do anything other than just a motion? Motion. So could I have a motion to allow the parents to have breakfast for the homecoming kids as they stage for the homecoming parade on Right Way?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Enjoy. Time is breakfast, in case there's any local neighbors that would want to stop by. Just kidding. Doesn't say. Well, that's smart. Okay, so next we have the proposed ordinance on the first part of the background check. Stu, you want to lead this conversation for us?
Certainly, Mr. Council President. I have distributed a draft of the first part of the criminal background check ordinance as council directed my office to. I also have just updated it recently to not only deal with the criminal background check, but talk about the administrative side of it. Somebody that's lost a professional licensure or some certification from the state due to matters that have a moral turpitude that would affect being a volunteer or paid coach for youth sports in Delran. Jeff, for the record, I'm gonna give this to you, I have a hard copy, I'm gonna email you one tomorrow. Take a look at it, if you have any changes, anybody has any comments, I'm happy to take them under consideration. I think we captured everything that you wanted. Last time it's a 3-year check, we talked about who has to pay and who doesn't have to pay. If everybody's okay with it and you wanna do it, it can be introduced at your next meeting,
Okay, at the work session?
if you'd like to,
Okay. Great,
as an action item.
thanks, I know that this is, it's a big thing to get your arms around, I appreciate you sticking with it.
And you might want to share with the chief of police, Jeff, if you haven't already done so. Okay, so you can mark it up and, FOP, happy to take any changes that make sense. And once we have that, we can have it on for introduction for you next week.
It's good to have for protection for the town.
Councilman, your question?
Yeah, you're real quick. I talked to Joe from the RAC about this. We're a little concerned with it impacting the volunteers that we have. So I'm trying to, is there any way we can carve out the RAC in particular? I think the purpose of this is to put our hands over top of coaches. And I think as it is now, it kind of puts a burden on us to check every volunteer that would touch the RAC. And we have students who come and family members.
I think, let me just make a little comment on that. I think there should be some leeway on volunteer supporting activities, but like, for example, like the camp or things like that, which there's a lot of interface with kids. I think there needs to be a fine line of what we allow and what we don't.
Yeah, I completely agree. The issue is if, a lot of things,
No, I agree with you.
Someone says, I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring 3 of my friends, that's not a problem, and then they show up with 3 friends, you don't have a background check, you can't help us out, and that, when we only have 5 people who come to the RAC meetings, that's
No, I agree.
a huge impact to the event.
And that's normally just like a one-shot, like to come and
Yeah.
volunteer for the egg hunt or
Right.
come.
Yeah.
But like you said, the camp is a 2-week program where you have extended time
With kids and
with
stuff.
kids. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
So I
very
think we
different.
maybe need to clarify with the RAC as far as the period of I'll say
What we're
performance.
acting as a temporary volunteer, is that what
Yes.
this basically is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
Like for a special activity or something, versus like a camp or something where we do want to make sure that they have the proper check.
Maybe Jeff and I can work out, so I can have an understanding of what it is you're driving at, Jeff and I can work on, we give you some legal language that will cover that situation.
Yeah,
and exempt
absolutely,
that.
yeah, but everything else I think we want, don't worry about that, I just
That's a good idea.
take a look at that. Thank you.
Does this include, just thinking about it, we had a lot of at National Night Out, we had some football players that were there from the high school that helped. They're under 18. So they're under 18 helping 18s. Do they have to have a background
No,
check?
this is 18 years old.
So if they're over 18.
18 and up.
Right, okay, 18 and up.
And they were just volunteers as well
Right.
for that activity,
Right.
so.
Temp-
Just making sure we don't have any unintended consequences. You know,
But I think we'll
kids-
come back now.
Kids
Yeah,
are,
I think it's a matter of, chief, and everybody uses some common sense and application, but it's fairly comprehensive, but I think it doesn't capture anybody that just might be lending a hand, if you will.
right, understood.
I think the chief had a question.
I'm going to address them, you don't want to hear them now, do you?
We can hear them now, or I'd be happy to take your email tomorrow.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot, chief.
Why don't you just forward it
I
to
got
us?
3 things.
Go ahead.
I think should be something, you know, you check criminal histories every 3 years.
That's what council wants.
So shouldn't there be some type of self-reporting mandated in the ordinance?
It's required, yeah, right.
It's not, I don't see it in here. If a person's arrested within those 3 years. and that's-
They're prohibited anyway, whether they submit, it works, the ordinance works that way, it's self-automatic, and it works that way anyway, so if you have a conviction, you're automatically prohibited, whether you have a background check or not.
No, I think what he's talking about today,
How
have
would
to
you know if
self-report.
somebody's arrested?
Yeah.
Within that
If they don't
3-year.
report it.
Well, I mean, if that's what you want, I can certainly add that.
Well, it's up to them, but I'm just.
Well, I mean, or else you're just hoping that person voluntarily says I was convicted and steps away, there's a self-reporting the chief can say.
I know we had it.
Unless you see me.
They're banned anyway, so I'm not sure you're gonna capture
No,
one.
he's talking about a person passes a background check, they got the credential. Within the 3 years before they're gonna be tested again, something happens. Right now, there's nothing that requires them to let us know, how would the chief or any of us know?
No, I understand that, but just so we don't lose the fundamental point, they are banned, they immediately lose that credential if we know about it. Obviously, the issue is whether they know.
If it happens between, that's when we
Yeah, we're
decided to
worried about
go
a
1
person
year
who
to
doesn't
3
decide to
years.
tell
We were
us.
the ones that decided to go to the 3 year, which is
Yeah.
now open.
Well, it could happen in 2 weeks.
No, I
out.
got-
You
exactly.
can do it every day, and it could happen overnight. so,
Exactly.
So we'll add a some sort of a self-reporting requirement.
Just to put a point on it, I had a certification as a locomotive engineer from the federal government. It required that if I had a DUI, I had to report to my employer.
Got it.
I think that's what
And
you're
if the applicant has a challenge to their criminal history, it directs me to do an investigation for them on the criminal history, which I don't think is proper. If they have a problem with the criminal history, they should go to SBI or the FBI to find out what the issue is. It shouldn't be upon us, incumbent upon us to challenge whether it's correct or not.
Okay, got it?
That's-
I'm-
I didn't know if you heard me.
You only have one more, so.
You make it good.
You can still look at it and get back to me, you know.
I'll do the next one, but, you know, it's complicated, so I'll do my,
Okay.
Chief, just be sure that, Stu, probably better, just be sure that we know what it is, regardless of its level of complication, so that, I mean, if you're gonna make a change.
If we're gonna make a change to what you have there, we will explain it in the cover letter.
Okay, great.
I'll bring it up now.
Okay.
It says that I'm not supposed to tell Jeff what their criminal history is if the person is disqualified.
Correct.
And you can't tell the person why they're disqualified unless they appeal. Okay, so then you can tell them. So when do you tell them? Do you wait to tell Jeff and then you want to?
Upon filing of the appeal.
I'm sorry?
Upon filing of the appeal.
Upon the filing, not at the appeal, when you file.
Yep.
Then you let everybody know.
Correct.
It doesn't specify.
They never do, by the way. They get caught, they're like, okay. Anybody that appeals this on these background, especially on the criminal part, never seen that happen. I mean, I've seen them come back hot and, you know, nobody ever appeals that. But in the event that it would be upon the filing. Because that's one of the reasons why.
It's verbally or in writing? It's verbally or in writing?
Well, I mean, the appeal has to be in writing, so.
Well, no, there's appeal unless it's in writing, but I notify them why they were disqualified,
Everything has to be in writing,
you know?
yes. Thank you, Chief, I appreciate those comments, especially since you have to work with it.
Okay, anything else, any other questions? We're not, hang on to that, we'll open it up to the public. Okay, so we'll wait, Stu, you'll work with Jeff, you'll let us know.
Yeah, we'll have it for you for, you have a meeting in 2 weeks, right?
Correct.
We'll have it.
Great. Okay. The Orchard Farms has gotten to the halfway point at 27 COs out of 51 units. And they want us to take the streetlights. Anything unusual about this, Jeff, or this is just a matter of course?
No, it's a matter of course. State statute states that, I mean, to make it short, that once 50% of the COs, it talks about square footage, but it meets that requirement too. But once 50% of the COs are met, then they can request in writing, and within 30 days, we would have to take over the street lighting. So it's something we haven't done in a while, but we used to do it commonly when the developments were taking place. So
That's municipal road.
it's our part of it.
Okay. So what do we have to do for that? Anything, just do it? Is this an advisory, or do we have to take any kind of action in order for this to happen?
I was gonna say, like, PCG is gonna need something in writing from the township.
You need a motion authorizing Jeff to issue a letter or some confirmation that we will be taking over the street lighting at this time.
Okay, so can I have a motion to authorize Jeff to send a letter to PSE&G to advise them that we'll be taking over the street lighting for the Orchard Farms in the former Mariucci Farms location?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're good? Okay. That was pretty quick so far. So now, we'll go around the room for any requests or any updates from staff and then council and then the mayor. So Chief, you have anything for us tonight? Nothing. Look at you. Okay. Jamie, anything for us tonight? Nothing. Jeff, anything?
Just so you know, the Jake's Place equipment has been received and it's being stored until we can have that next bid go out to install it. And all of the equipment at the Conroe Park has been removed either by the contractor, or there were some things we had to do in terms of the framing for the play areas, and we expect that the installation of the new equipment in Conroe will start probably within the next week and a half.
Great. Great. Jim?
I'll just be real quick. I don't know if you've seen the status report I sent out last Friday, but the road program and Hartford Road are ongoing. The roof is generally done. We're just waiting for the skylight guy to come in supposedly next week to finish the skylight, and then the project is done. The sidewalk improvements on Route 130 are pretty much done. They're just waiting for the signage and striping, which are supposed to be, if not this week, next week. And those are the 3 projects. PCG is already out milling and resurfacing over on Fordham and Edgewood and Sylvan Side Streets. So that's going along well.
You know, my main concern is the skylight, is to make sure it's 100%.
We had a walkthrough last
Yeah,
week
no leaks
with Garland, with the architect,
Yeah,
and the skylight people, and the
We've had a lot of
contractor.
issues with
And they're totally focused on it, and they understand. So unless anybody has any questions, you know, we routinely get, if residents call you, forward them to Jeff about the road projects. We do get them, and we handle them as soon as they come in. Best we can.
And you
People are
guys got,
excited.
you guys got the emails of the grants that I sent you. Municipal group.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah. And, yeah, the road program should be done by the end of October.
Wow.
Good. Great. That's ours and PSE&G?
PCG should be done tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
If anything, further.
Okay.
Nothing further.
Okay. All right, so let's go around the room and start with Dan. Any report this evening, Dan?
Yeah, I attended a meeting of the Delran seniors today, and they had a presentation by the Burlington County Sheriff's Department. And for any resident of the county, but any resident in Delran, age 60 and above, they offer a free home security inspection through the security department. You have to file an application, which you can get online, or you can call a phone number. But they'll come out, they'll take a look at door and window locks, peepholes on your door, reflective house numbers, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, power failure lights, and medical info packets. It was a very interesting presentation. They gave information out to everybody there, but this kind of jumped out at me. If anybody else needs any information, they can please contact me. I'll give them the phone number. I thought it was a good program.
Right.
And that's it.
Great, thanks, Dan. Tyler, anything for us this evening? Virginia, anything? Patty?
No report.
Report. And I have no report. Anticipating a long agenda. Ken, anything for us tonight?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is I want to welcome Lightbridge. They're a child care education center. They're going to be actually, they did a little groundbreaking over the weekend, and they're going to be actually, I think, opening sometime in March or April. But I'd like to welcome them to Delran. I think it's a nice addition, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to use their services. Also, I'd like to, I guess I'm going to have to address this issue that we have with Gary Yu in regards to the petitions. I know there was a lot of things brought up about it. I have some things I'd like to present tonight. I'd like to get council's I guess, direction on what they want to do. But I will tell you, I have a lot of stuff prepared here. Would you like to, I'm just going to ask you straight out, would you like to address your comment as far as that you did not do this before I go into what I have here?
Continue with your report. I'll address it.
Okay. First of all, here's all the petitions. I'm going to read you a couple things that I have, and then I'm going to then go into a couple other things. But I'll read this to you. And this addresses the items about the petitions. Items that are in question. All the petitions prepared for all the candidates that ran for the ward, at-large, and mayor positions for the Democratic Party were signed and notarized by Mrs. Gina Reed, 2010 through 2016, 8 petitions. The 2014 Mike Schwartz petition was signed and notarized by Gary Catrambone. On the petitions submitted for all the candidates that ran for ward, at-large, and mayor positions for the Democratic Party from 2010 through 2016 were notarized and dated between the last week of March or the first week of April, which would be the normal time for these petitions to be submitted for a May primary. The Mike Schwartz petition in 2014 was notarized February 18, 2014, almost a month and 3 weeks prior. It was like the petition was done in anticipation of something happening to the candidate prior to the submission date of the petition. It must have been ESP or something. Mike Schwartz's signature is obviously different on the 2014 submitted petition. It appears to be off a squiggly line, where in his 2010 petition, as well as the petition he signed in 2016, and actually I was waiting for the affidavit in 2018, the MS is very apparent similar. The response provided on the Delran Net website from the Democratic Party site was, for the record, the reason that former Councilman Schwartz's signature is different from the signature on his 2010 petition is that during his first term in office, he unfortunately lost his vision. Well, the MS appeared in 2010. You can see the MS as the initial, the signature. 2014, it was a squiggly. 2016 and 2018, as far as the affidavit, it was MS again. So I don't understand why it loses sight and all of a sudden it comes back and it's MS, but okay. My question then is, if the major issue here is the difference in signature from all Councilman Schwartz's petitions to the one in question in 2014, why didn't the affidavits include that rather than the information be provided on the party website? That was critical information. It is also a normal practice and allowed for the candidates who prepare their petitions for the primary elections to have family members and the candidates sign their own petition as required witnesses listed, which has to be submitted with the petition. As on Mike Schwartz's petition in 2010, which his signature as well as his wife's favor was listed, but on the petition in 2014, neither one was, and yet they supposedly were present when the petition was signed. Finally, I do have these minutes. Gary, I'm going to ask you why you felt that you had to go on the 18th for the signature. But I'll read this as well. These are the minutes in question as well. Finally, I also noted, February 18th, you got the signature. Finally, I also noted that and I noted to Councilwoman Collodi, the date in question, February 18th, Mr. Schwartz was in attendance of the council work session. Minutes verify the attendance, which is right here, which was held at 7 p.m. Mrs. Collodi questioned Councilman Catrambone, true? And his response was that he went to Mike Schwartz's house that day to get a signature because Mr. Schwartz was having a problem with his ribs and may have to go to the hospital. Something like that? Yeah? Okay. Now, remember, the petitions aren't due for another month and a half. Did Councilman Catrambone know something in advance that Mr. Schwartz wouldn't be around to sign it when it was due in April? Here's the 2015, February 25th of 2014. Mr. Schwartz was also in attendance, so he couldn't have been that bad. Ironically, guess who was in attendance on the 25th council meeting? That's right, Mike Schwartz, minutes verified. But Mike Schwartz's petition had to be signed February 18th, or did it? That's the first thing I want to read. The second thing I'd like to read is I want to address the issue on the council president signing and notarizing the 2014 petition. I raised the concern to Councilman Burrell and Councilwoman Colodi several months ago, showing them evidence of the findings as well as playing them the recordings that support the finding. I had suggested that an investigation should be done similar to one that was supported against me regarding the perception of an ethics violation. This allegation is much more serious, especially when it involves someone being elected to act on council. Is council going to pursue an investigation, and if not, why not? I realize that affidavits were presented from 3 witnesses, but aren't they ex-Councilman Schwartz, his wife, and Councilman Catrambone, the one in question? I was waiting for them to be submitted. Some social media groupies, along with the council members, seemed to feel that the affidavits were sufficient enough not to have an inquiry, but it now brings into question the validity of the affidavits. I have 2 recordings here, one from Mr. Schwartz, after signing the affidavit, that he doesn't remember signing the petition, that his wife told him he did, and that he thought that it was signed in the hospital because people told him it was. He also states that his wife was now going to sign an affidavit 3 weeks after Gary, and he did. And Mike also states to the person he's talking to, I know you want Gary's blood, but why do you want my blood also? So I also have several people that would also agree to do affidavits about Gary signing the petition and his notarizing. Also, Gary was going to run for mayor in 2016, but it was advised not to by, which I didn't even know this, but advised not to by the campaign people because the issue would be used against him. Gary again would like to reconsider, I'd like to know if you want to reconsider your allegation. I am a little disappointed in Councilman Burrell, who is studying law, and the candidate on their ticket, who is a lawyer and former prosecutor, that they haven't supported an inquiry. So if this council refuses to investigate this issue on their own, I will refer the findings to the county prosecutor's office, since this is a criminal act if it's found true. That's all I have. And by the way, I will show any evidence of everything that I've talked about. I have it all. And I have two recordings if you want to hear them. You want to hear?
May I address?
Yes, you may.
I appreciate you bringing all this material forward, but I think when you brought the material to, you went to Mrs. Colodi about it,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't see the material, it just went to me.
No, I showed you the paper. I showed you some of the stuff. I showed you the petitions. Oh yeah, I showed you the petitions in the.
Go ahead, let's go.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay.
That's.
Go ahead.
I'll address that.
You told me about the stuff, and I told you I would look into it. One, I talked to my own counsel about it, and I actually called Mr. Catrambone about it. He was aware of the situation and said he had affidavits. We saw these affidavits, and advice from our counsel decided that that is stronger than your allegations. Now, if there's other evidence brought forward, that can change. But right now, we have affidavits that says the 3 people who were in the room were that.
I can play it. You want me to play it?
Ken, but they have signed affidavits under perjury that.
Yes, it could be perjury.
But so they have signed affidavits that Gary did not sign it, and that Mike
Would you
Schwartz
like
signed
to
it.
hear the tape?
I've heard the tape.
No, this is a new tape.
I don't think this is the appropriate venue to
Why not?
listen to
Let's-
these tapes.
Bring it to the table.
And Ken.
No, I don't understand. This is fact. This is Mike Schwartz admitting that he does not remember signing the thing. He's only did it because Faye told him to. And yet he signed an affidavit. Now, I'm going to ask you again, are you supporting this or not? I'm just asking, you guys make your decision.
I will tell you that when you brought the information, I went right to Gary first and
Okay.
asked him.
Yep.
And he said, no, he didn't do it. And I said, okay. And you then played a tape for me that you taped
Yes.
Mike Schwartz.
Yes.
And I listened to that tape. I haven't heard the last 2 tapes.
That's all right, I
The
haven't.
other one was on the
Right.
radio or something.
Right.
And that tape, Mike Schwartz, I heard saying he wasn't sure, like he didn't sign it or whatever. I don't know who
Right.
signed it, whatever. Okay, and then I went back to Gary. I said, I heard this tape because, as you know, I've been going back and
Well,
forth
I agree.
forever.
Yep.
And Gary said he has an affidavit saying that Mike Schwartz signed
Sure.
the petition. So I said, all right,
I know.
and if this is a legal document, it's notarized by like a bank or something, that says
I know.
notary, that Mike signed his own petition. All right, my point is, Mike is the man in question. Okay, Mike is the person that this all revolves around, as far as who signed the petition.
I believe,
Let
go
me
ahead.
finish. He's saying, I signed it. He's putting his word
Yep.
on a piece of paper and getting it notarized under the threat of perjury
Mhm.
that he signed it.
Yep.
So there is my evidence, okay? You secretly taped a few people,
I
Okay.
have the tape.
I know, but what I'm saying is, you taped him, then he signs this affidavit.
No, the
What's
tape was done after the affidavit.
Well, the first tape,
This tape is after the
okay, and
affidavit.
who is on this tape?
Would you like to hear it?
I'm not sure yet, but tell me who it's involved.
It involves Mike Schwartz telling a friend of his,
Who is the friend?
Mike Bone.
Okay, there, well.
Well, if you're gonna say that that's not valid, it's recorded after the affidavit was signed. Now, you wanna say, this is fact.
Well.
Go ahead, I don't care
The first
what it-
tape was supposed to be fact.
They
The
are.
second
They
tape-
all are.
Well, then what is the affidavit? Phony?
Yes.
Okay, so people in
You can
secret.
support how you want. I mean, I'm giving you.
I think that in having looked at two things.
Will
I
you
think
listen
in
to I'm asking the council a question. Will you listen to the tape?
I don't care.
Was the tape made with the knowledge of the people on the tape?
Was the tape, the
Because you
tape,
taped me and you never told me.
I didn't tape you. I
Yes, you
said-
did, you wanted to play it for me.
I was kidding.
When I was
I
chairman.
was ki-
Oh, you were kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And to be honest with you, Dan,
I don't
that's
remember
not
you
the
saying
point
that.
anyhow, but can I
Yeah,
tell
that
you
is the
something?
point.
Here's the point.
That is the point.
I have the right to use this tape.
Mhm.
It was given to me.
You have the right. That doesn't have any implications or
Okay,
responsibility
so
on it.
again, if this is fact, why aren't you
No,
listening?
you're saying it's fact. I don't know that
What do you
it's
think?
fact.
I spoke for Mike?
I have no idea.
Well, then let's hear it, okay?
I'm not interested in listening to
You're
the
not
tape.
interested in listening
If
to
the
it.
person being taped didn't know they were being
Yeah,
taped,
can we play it?
I'm not interested.
Okay.
So I would suggest, if you feel strongly about this, I would present it to the prosecutor.
I'm going to, but I would like you to play this tape.
Well, I don't know that this is the forum for that.
It's only about 2 minutes.
Well, this is a privately, secretly recorded tape.
Okay, it's secretly recorded, yeah.
Right, so.
You secretly went and got the affidavits. I actually talked to Mike about doing affidavits before you did. And yes, Mike probably told you, so you ran over there and got affidavits. And you probably told him that you should sign this because you're gonna get in trouble too, Mike, if you don't. And I'm sure you did that. And that's why he did these affidavits, with you and Faye. And Faye did hers 3 weeks later. Go look at the affidavit.
In a court of law, would an affidavit hold up stronger than, this is the way I'm thinking logically.
I could do
and
5
maybe I'm wrong.
affidavits from people that we were told.
But in a court of law, if you presented a tape of someone that wasn't, didn't know they were being taped, or even if they did know they were being taped, and a written affidavit signed and notarized, what is the stronger evidence? That's, like, I just think the stronger evidence, and that's what,
I don't understand why you guys went into a perception of ethics on me, and you were ready to pursue it. This is criminal,
Because-
and possibly perjury,
And-
and you're not willing to look into it.
No.
That's all I want on the table.
Gary said, and I'll support him, if you want to send it to the prosecutor, yes. In your case, we had,
You had what?
we had all of the paperwork that eventually showed.
What paperwork?
The paperwork of the, business dealings with you and Mr.
There was
Lucas.
business,
Well, yeah,
business
you're-
with, wait a minute, with Stellwags?
Not
With Well,
Stellwags,
that's the
with
issue.
Lucas.
No, it was the issue with Stellwags.
Well,
I'm tied with Stellwags.
Yes, through Jeffrey Lucas is how it.
It had nothing to do with Stellwags, though. It had to do with Jeff Lucas and a business that I was tied into in another county.
Yes.
Okay, it
But-
had nothing to do with Stellwags.
It.
And-
when Je-
and
You
the
let her
attorney-
finish,
Let me
please.
finish.
Okay.
When Stell
My
had,
God.
the
No, but you-
reason that it came that way, and the reason that I went back and forth between you, and but you don't
You
wanna
also
hear it.
said you were gonna address this, Patty, if you
I-
thought it,
I
now you're
did.
not.
I absolutely did.
You said you would look into it, though, if there was a question.
I did.
Is there a question now? Is there a question?
No,
You wanna hear the tape
no,
and see?
I don't, because of, no,
Okay.
but,
So,
right,
right,
right.
so,
This is-
so I would respectfully ask that if you feel strongly.
You're gonna say that, Gary.
Submit
I'm going
whatever you
to, it
want.
will be.
Okay, then.
And that.
we're-
And I'm a little
and-
disappointed that council will not take a stand, and here's the reason why I'm suggesting that we need to get the other party represented on this council. Because, oh yeah, you know why?
Yeah, you didn't
Because
say
you
that.
guys,
You didn't say
you
that
guys,
2 years ago
you're
when
right.
you ran.
Because all you,
Yeah.
well, no, let me
Yeah,
tell you
that's
why.
very- that's
Because
very
you guys
convenient, Mr.
will
Mayor.
not make a stand
very
against
convenient.
Gary. You do whatever he wants.
No,
And that's the
no,
problem.
You're upset
That's
because
the
we won't do
problem.
what you want us
That's
to do.
the problem.
No, that's not the
You
problem.
need checks and balances on this table. You do.
So, hopefully that concludes your report, and we'll make a motion to go into public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're in public.
Disappointed, I'll take it for
Mrs. Paris? Go. Sir,
Just a suggestion.
we need your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Angelo Cinti, 27
Yes.
Ashley Drive in Delran. It has to do with the checks. I would say, and with volunteers, I can tell you from experience, if you have people that are coming in that you do not have registered, are coming in to volunteer, and they may be with a friend, you should have a form that anybody who's going to be with children, anybody who's going to be with people, that they should fill out that form. Very simple, name, address, telephone number, and who the chaperone, when I say the chaperone, who's the person that's going to voucher that this guy's in good standard, or she's in good standard. And so, two things are going to happen. If the person is not legit, he's not going to fill out the form, so you tell him goodbye. He can't come in and participate or work. If he is, then you have a record. If you put that on the computer, the names, if the person's name shows up 2 or 3 times, then you have to go back and really then vent him, because he shows up more than once. It's not a one-time deal. If it's a one-time deal, have him fill out the form, it'll take him 2 minutes, and whoever's going to be, I refer to it as a sponsor. Whoever's going to sponsor, just say that this person is legit, and whatever he puts down there, let him sign. And then that individual, the sponsor, should sign the back of the card. And so it would be the use of a couple of ballpoint pens and producing a simple form. And then just keep a record. And if that individual or individual comes in 2 or 3 times over the course of a year, then you should do, then you call the person in and just say that he's got to have the checked out, because he's showing up more than once.
The only problem I see with that is that not every volunteer might have a sponsor. How would
Well,
you
if he
go-
doesn't, just have him fill out the form.
Okay.
Just have him fill out the form. I mean, you want to have a record that this person is coming in and that he doesn't have a
Does
sponsor.
REC do anything like
Or
that?
you could have a box checked out, no sponsor, so
Right.
he's legit. But, I mean, having people come in and just simply say, I want to volunteer in this activity, and if somebody can't
Yeah.
voucher for that individual, I think you're asking for problems.
Good idea,
So, I mean, it's not inexpensive.
yeah.
Ballpoint pen, take them 2 minutes to fill it out. Or you can put up the little stand and have the individuals go over there so they
Sign
can
in.
take 5 minutes to sign it in and have a box checked off, no sponsor or a sponsor. And if he is a sponsor, then have him sign the back of the card. He's vouchering for that individual.
We'll need to probably review all the procedures that the various organizations use, especially in big events where they come in. It's an excellent idea to get identification.
If you have a stand on the side and you have a lot of people coming in, just tell them that if they don't have a card, they're not identified, you just walk over because you want to put a volunteer sticker on them, and you want to make sure that that person has a form. In other words, what happens is that he doesn't have the pin that shows the volunteer. If he doesn't have that, somebody should approach him and just say, what are you doing here? And if he does, the only way he's going to get is because he filled out the form. Very simple.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea.
You won't get in trouble.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez,
Thank you.
anything?
No, don't pass on.
A couple questions, but that's a good idea. That's really a good idea.
You should run town council. You should run town council.
I'm too old.
I just want to make sure that I understand something about the Stellwide Farm and the tax abatement, because someone on Facebook put something and then it made me confused. So you guys can clarify it. So the tax abatement goes to the new owner of of the property, or is the tax abatement for the builder?
No, it's for the owner, so when they get a CO, that starts the clock ticking. That gives them 1 year where they're just paying taxes on the land.
Why
not
are we
with the
doing that for
improvements.
homeowners?
Well, obviously, it's an incentive to sell the homes, to get the homes sold. And I don't know.
Are you
Can we-
going to have an estimate of what their taxes are gonna be after that period of time?
I can tell you, generally the way it works is there is going to be an assessment. Every property is assessed, and because of it's a short-term tax abatement, it's a 5-year program. So there's an assessment that will be on the tax records, but it's abated during those periods, phased in 0 to 100 over essentially a 5-year period.
Mhm. But will they know, let's say,
Yeah.
when you buy the home, it's assessed at, let's just pull a number out of the hat, 300,000. And at today's tax rate, your taxes would be X.
They're not going to get a tax bill in the conventional sense, but there will be an assessment of
Something.
record. There will be an assessment of record, yes.
Okay, so then,
All
is
properties have
anyone
to be
going to do
assessed.
some sort of a, okay, so in year 1, you can expect a tax bill of this, in year 2, you can expect a tax bill of that?
Correct.
So that people who are buying know that in 5 years, I could be paying $10,000 in taxes,
Right.
and I'm not gonna be able to afford that.
Absolutely. The
See,
folks-
and I
the
see,
folks will
I'm
know
just
exactly-
wondering also on a mortgage side, how does, okay, so what's your payment? Yeah, you can afford this because there's no taxes. They can't approve a mortgage for 5 years from now, because 5 years from now, somebody could lose a job, anything could happen. I'm just kind of confused on how that works, and I realize it was an incentive to sell the properties, but I also then wonder, is 5 years from now, when all these $10,000, $12,000 taxes hit, do we start ending up with homes that are being sold because they can't afford them, and next thing you know, we have short sales or foreclosures all over the place?
Right. So I do have some background in the mortgage business. I work for a company that services mortgage lenders. So this would be very similar to either an adjustable rate mortgage or a mortgage with an adjusting rate and a balloon payment. So they would know, let's use $10,000 as a round number, that ultimately their tax bill will be $10,000. First year, it will be 0. Second year will be 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. And then the 6th year, it'll be at a fully assessed
And you have to
number.
take into consideration as well that over those 5 years, taxes are probably going to increase each
Very
year.
possible,
So even
yes.
though I tell you it's 5 years, it'll be 10,000, it may be 12, it may be
If it goes up
11.
20%.
No, I
in 5
understand,
years,
I'm
that'd be-
moving too, so not to
Yeah,
worry,
you're
but
moving.
I got you.
But yes, but same here, even if you were paying the fully assessed value from day one, there's still a potential that taxes would go up or some other cost would go up, and that it would make it less affordable. I can tell you that with the advent of the Dodd-Frank legislation and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that all of these precautions are taken, so many more than used to be. If you had a pulse, you can get a mortgage.
Yes.
Now it's.
Been there, done that.
Now it's a case where, it swung the other way where you couldn't get a mortgage. Alan Greenspan couldn't get a mortgage to refinance his house. But it's reaching that happy medium.
My other comment too, Gary, is are we that sure that we're not gonna sell those properties without doing that? Why are we giving those incentives? Is it, people hear that, is it gonna be like, oh yeah, so I can afford it because I'm getting this tax abatement? I mean, is there, how many properties are gonna be there? I mean, I don't even know. But is there a fear that they won't sell out unless this happens?
No, so what happened was we had an agreement with the developer. It's well known, and we do have our co-attorney here who's going to stop me or throw something at me if I divulge anything that I'm not allowed to say yet. But we had an agreement, a redevelopment agreement with that developer, and then suddenly we got sued from the Fair Share Housing to meet a COA obligation that there was no COA obligation. We've in the process of mediation and the owners of that property were also brought into the suit, that we needed them to increase the units and add COA units. We needed them to do that. They were the only builder developer that we already had an agreement with, and then we needed them. So we said that we need to do that. They said, we don't make any money on those units. We had an agreement, and then they said, look, if we can do an abatement, we could, I don't know how they're going to utilize that, but it's an incentive. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to guess for them. My guess is they could sell it for a few $1,000s more. Who knows? But that was the reason that happened, and that's the only reason that abatement even was approved. And how they utilize it in their marketing approach is up to them.
I'll be anxious to see.
That was the way. Okay, that was the way we were
As
able to
opposed to
sell
saying,
this
okay, we're
also.
gonna give you $10,000 worth of free upgrades.
Right.
Here's your base house, but if we'll give you $10,000 in granite and this and that and the other thing, at least then people know what their long-term responsibility is.
I'm sure legally they have to be.
Oh, I'm sure
the
it has to
buyer
be legal, I'm
aware
just
of what's
wondered
going
why
on.
we felt the need to do it.
Right, well, the
think
felt
it
the
was
need to do
COA.
it was strictly to settle the COA litigation. We needed their participation to add COA units.
Because
Am
without,
I okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and the thing is too with that, there are so many units in this town that are for low to moderate income that are vacant. We can't sell them. I've had 2 listings myself that have been 2-3 years, and we can't sell them. They're nice units, but the biggest problem with it is, and even if you do the waiver where the income is waived, so now I'm a $50,000, income earner, and I can buy this at $101,000, because that's the price that the state put on it, the max. You're still held to, when I get ready to sell it in 5 years, state's gonna tell me how much I can sell that for. And then they go, oh, so if I put in hardwood floors, redo the kitchen, I can't get any of that back? Yeah, probably not. And there are a lot of them out there. And to add more, just,
Right,
Unfortunately, the state of the law requires that every municipality, not just Delran, throughout the state, needs to
I understand
provide
that, but
for
there has to be,
for
and this is
for
not for
housing.
us to decide for sure, but there has to be some sort of leniency or, analysis done, because all those vacant properties aren't doing anybody any good. And then the people who did purchase them, they end up going to foreclosure because they've moved on. It's just, there's just one thing after another.
That's a problem that the legislature should be able to address if they chose to do so, and that's something to bring up with your state rep or your state senator.
and Pat, I will tell you that we had the same discussion around this table, the same frustration and the same, and I don't want to say our hands are tied, but we feel the same way. It is frustrating, and it's difficult to make sense of it, because I find it difficult to make sense of empty homes and we have to provide more. But because of the state requirements, this seemed to be, and we had much discussion, both open and closed, and I think that we felt that this was the best of, not a great situation. It was not, but I think I would probably be arguing the same thing you were arguing right at this table, because it's very frustrating.
It is.
Ultimately, this was the result of litigation. They sued us to meet an obligation that there was no number for, and we had to mediate that number to something that was acceptable to all parties. Was it appealing to us necessarily? No. But it was
we
something.
get nothing out of it. I mean, we don't get the taxes,
Right. Well, we get taxes, and matter of fact.
Well, you're not gonna get the full.
No.
you get-
As a matter of fact, on the COA units, we get the full taxation from day one.
And additionally, because.
As long as they're sold.
Well, as long as they're sold, right?
So in addition to that, because the property was tied up in litigation, it's not gonna get developed until that litigation was resolved. By being able to settle with them and having this enabled them to get to the table as well, we now have a track where taxes are gonna be paid, but had we not had anything, litigation could take, it's hard to guess how many years that would take, and the land would stay vacant.
and how many
Nothing wrong with
hundreds
that, to
of,
be honest with you.
and how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we would be paying to the attorneys
Well,
to
that's
fight the
true.
litigation so that the number was an acceptable number. And I'm not speaking specifically about you, I'm talking about Brian.
He's seeing that new home in the Bahamas over here, yeah, no.
I just want to address one comment, and I'm not the special co-attorney in this town, but you're talking about existing units that could be made affordable, or there's existing units out there, why is there new construction? So some amount of the potential plan will include some of this new construction that you're talking about. But there is a program called the Market to Affordable Program, where you take existing units that would otherwise qualify for meeting the low and moderate income residents or families, and they can be converted. The only way you can do that, though,
Converted to,
to an affordable housing unit. So you're saying, why build new ones? We have all these other units that might already meet the criteria, if that's what you're saying. And just, I want you to let me finish. You understand the concept. So many towns want to take existing units that would otherwise qualify as affordable units, but in order to do that, you have to pay the owner to get a 30-year deed restriction. And Delran is including some of the things that you're talking about. They are going to have that as part of their overall affordable housing plan.
no,
So
I'm not
there are
suggesting that, someone say, okay, we'll make this an affordable housing unit, because I'm talking about there are already affordable housing units out there. That is what they're designated as.
No, they have to be, well, if they're designated as, they're counted. If they're not
Well,
designated.
and I understand that, and that's
and
why
if
I'm
they're-
saying,
but if
and I
they're
get
not-
why you have, I'm sure there's some sort of formula or whatever that
If
says,
they're not designated as affordable units, then the only way you can do that is the owner has to agree to a 30-year deed
I understand that.
restriction.
And
And
I'm
you
not
have
what
to
I'm
pay
talking
the owner.
about.
and you have to-
That's not what I'm
We have
discussing.
vacant affordables.
We have vacant affordables, and
Absolutely.
we said that.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't matter. They were
No, I
suing us.
understand it doesn't matter, because I assume
it doesn't
that
matter
when you're gonna
because-
build X amount, so much of that has to be COA, I get that.
Right, so
And
you understand
like I said, it
that
isn't
all
anything
of
we can
this-
do here, but I just,
I get it.
Yeah.
All of this is the result of us being sued. And now that there is no COA, there's no Council of Affordable Housing, it's all being handled in the courts. That number could be anything. We were able to negotiate it down from where they suggested, where they wanted, to what was a little bit more reasonable. But it could have been 2 or more times the number of units than we were able to mediate.
Right.
So I get it. Nobody went out saying, hey, you know what, let's get some more affordable housing.
no, I know.
No one said that.
Nobody wants, I understand
What-
that.
What
I
happened
get
was
that.
we got sued, and we had to settle that suit to
I
save
understand.
the residents from all
I
that
understand.
expense.
But I
In
just
just
want
a
to ask
second.
another question about that. So, regardless of how many there are going to be in this new development, who is responsible for marketing? Right now, it has to be the state for 6 months, and if it doesn't get sold, then it can go to an agent. Is the developer going to be able to sell those, or is the state going to have to sell those?
The marketing plan for the new development,
Just the COA, just the COA.
just the
I'm just
code.
looking at the affordable housing units.
So the state doesn't get involved in the beginning, and if they don't, so it would be treated, new construction would be treated the same as anything that's existing.
Well, existing, they do get involved. If I have one and I want to sell it, I have to let the state try to sell it for 6 months.
Not when they were originally constructed, Pat. When Summer Hill and the Grand were originally constructed, they were marketed by.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, he said if you had one today. So if I own an affordable housing unit and I
thought
decide
the
to sell
question
it,
was-
the state
I thought
has
the
to.
question was about the new development.
That's exactly right. So the new development, the developer or whoever he hires will be responsible for selling those.
Yes.
And not the state. It doesn't have to go there. Well, that's one good thing. Because nothing ever sells through the state. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, but, all right, is it on this? Because I have another
No,
question.
well, I have another question, no.
okay, hang on just a second.
Okay, so this is a really quick one. Norman Avenue is going to be paved, yes? No?
It will have to be determined by the council in the upcoming road.
Oh, it's not on the program. I thought it was.
Well, there's nothing funded yet, there's nothing decided yet. Yeah, it's one of the roads that's on the we're gonna be looking at these roads, whether or not to do them or not. They haven't actually decided yet what roads they're doing next year.
Okay, so it would be for 2019 if it makes the list, basically?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, like it's a consideration.
Let me just see if this gentleman has a question, and then we'll come back to you for a second question.
Chuck Stoll, 184 Natalie Road. So I was actually curious, since we're talking about the Stellag project, was there any option at all to just not develop it, and, or was it by the time we got sued, it was too late?
It was already too far down the road. It's owned by a private organization. Once they bought it, it was out of our hands. It was, as we've said all along, we could either be at the table to work it out, which we had done before we were sued, or let them just go have at it with whatever they wanted to do. And then we went back, worked with them, and during the litigation, and we had to make a deal with them, and we did. And frankly, I think it was as good as we could have gotten from that deal. But the ship had already sailed. Appreciate the question. Mr. C?
Question. The abatement is for 5 years. What happens if the individual dies? They're in there for a year, wants to sell. The new person coming in, does he get an abatement for 4 years? Or he gets no abatement?
Correct.
It runs with the land, yes.
So it goes with the land, so whoever comes in and gets that, if there is an abatement, he gets, or they get,
They would get
whatever
their
it
remainder.
is, okay.
Seeing no other hands, I'll ask for a motion to come out of public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so there may be action at the end of this for those folks who are